And so whichever one of you wants to
Yep.
start. Okay, so we are back in Senate Committee on Institutions, and it is still April 4th. And we are going to look at section 9 of the capital bill. And we'll be looking at dam safety and hydrology projects. They're actually super important for general safety and for the river. And we have first Ben Green, who is in the chair, and we'll be sharing.
Yes, I keep flying in the meeting, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Talked a lot about dams last year. After the flooding.
I'm just trying to pull the link here.
Yeah, so folks on the committee, it'll be the first two lines under section 9, so it's 72 and 73 on our new version. And it's the same as, or no, not the same. Yeah, it is. Did you get the meeting link?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get into it. It's for some reason it's
Maybe I should resend it.
I think it's going, it's just kind of spinning, but it looks like
Yeah, I just don't see you in the.
oh, it's coming now.
Our IT has been bad since last night. Not bad.
There we go.
Don't mean to insult anybody, but it hasn't been as good as it usually is.
So
We're live.
Well,
You can
it's not gonna get any better.
No, well, and that's our committee now too, so we can figure out what. People should be good to go.
all right, thank you. Share screen. All right, so for the record, my name is Ben Green. I'm the section chief of the dam safety program at the Department of Environmental Conservation. Thanks a lot for having us in. Okay, brief slide on who we are for those who may not be familiar with us. We're the dam safety program. We're located within DEC within the Water Investment Division. Our mission statement is listed here. It's a little bit different than most other departments in DEC, and our primary focus is public safety. We have two main charges. Number one is dam regulation. We regulate about 1,000 dams statewide. Those are non-hydropower, non-federal designated dams. And then we also are responsible for dam ownership. We directly own 14 dams, which include 3 major flood control dams on the Winooski River Basin, Waterbury, Riceville, and East Barry. And then also A&R as a whole, including us, Forest Parks and Recreation, and Fish and Wildlife own nearly 100 dams. Our current staffing of our programs listed here. We're a fairly small program, but we are increasing in size. We're thankful for that support. Some history, just brief history on our programs. It's also listed here. It's kind of a fun fact. Vermont was actually the first state in the nation to enact a dam safety law in the late 1800s. You can kind of see the progression of our program through this history. On the regulatory side, we operate under 10 VSA Chapter 43 dams. And again, we regulate non-hydropower, non-federal dams. And on the ownership side, as I mentioned before, we have the 14 dams we mainly key on. And then between Forest Parks and Recreation, Fish and Wildlife, there's additionally roughly 80 more that we consist with.
Yeah, do you mind if I chime in every now and then? So the after the floods, the legislature was really concerned about dams, more concerned because it just became more obvious that we needed more people. And so we did put in, I think that was an act, it was an Act 121.
Yes.
2 new engineers.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
then also some other things.
yes. Yeah, I'm happy to. So I can jump ahead a little bit here, but
Oh, no, that's okay. I just,
okay.
yeah, okay.
Sure. Yeah. When I started in 2017, it was myself and one other gentleman. So we were a very, very small program. We since then added 2 engineers, and then in 2022, and then a year later we added an administrator, and then we got the allowance to hire 4 additional positions from last year. We've successfully hired a project manager position and a technician position, and we've had a little difficulty, but we try to recruit 2 additional engineers and go around our team. So we're excited that we're heading in the right direction. So I'm here today to speak about the capital construction request, $500,000 for both fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27 for A&R owned dams. This is the well, it's on the table. It's on page 75 of the PDF. It's line 86, this is where our ask comes from, just kind of showing that for everyone's benefit. And then I have this table here, which I have some. I'm not sure if folks from last year remember, or perhaps I have some handouts I can hand out. But this is a we set up this table last year with our capital plan, and then basically I'm providing an update to it, which is the green shaded is an update. The version I'm handing out is more detailed than the version I'm showing here, just because I want to be able to show it on the screen and someone officially move through it. But this basically lists out the projects that we plan to be doing to finish up using fiscal year 23 money that we still have left over. Our fiscal year 24 money is already allotted to a dam repair project that's underway, and then our fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26 and 27 has. So if you want me to go down line by line in this, or how would you like me to?
Well, I have a question. Just there was one in Rockingham, and I don't know if it was you all, but it really made a big difference. There was a little dam, I mean, the regular sized dam of the Saxons River
Okay.
going out into the Connecticut, and it made a huge difference almost
A
immediately.
removal project?
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
What we're talking about. So if you look at this table, the columns on the right show the projects that we plan to finish using up the fiscal year 23 monies with, which we had 3.115 million from then. Many of those projects are well underway. And then the projects that we plan to use for fiscal year 26 and 27. I guess it's calling attention to a couple of the projects we're doing. We're trying to work our more standard fashion. We're working through projects on state-owned dams. And also prepare for future regulatory requirements that are coming on on all dams that are under our regulatory purview as well. Starting on the second line down, we have Crystal Lake Dam, Kent Pond, Lowell Lake, 2 Nat Pond dams, and Colt Pond. That was a 6-dam RFP we put out for comprehensive assessments for all of those dams. Basically, the process for working through a dam rehabilitation projects are start with a comprehensive assessment. That's an engineering assessment where we do a detailed inspection, we do engineering analysis, we collect geotechnical information, basically do test borings into the dam. We do hydrology and hydraulic analysis of the dam, basically find all the fragilities and deficiencies and compare it to all the standards. And that's what that assessment's about. And then from there, that comes up usually with a few alternatives on what we need to do to make the dam compliant and bring it into safety standards. And then we go from there, we go to final design and construction phase engineering services, where we design that and permit it. And then last phase is construction. So we're trying to get to a point where we have projects in each phase. Right now, we have one project, Lake Carmi Dam, that's in construction phase. We have 2 projects that are in or moving into design phase. That's Noise Pond Dam, one that's listed here, and Silver Lake Dam, which is also listed here. And then we have about 8 projects right now, including the ones you see here that are in the comprehensive assessment phase. The goal to kind of keep our, as they go through construction, they get completed, and now we're in good shape, but they kind of drop off the list. The ones that are of lower risk kind of move up as we sort of move through the inventory in that manner. So that's our approach. I guess the table hopefully shows how our plan to use up remaining 23 monies, 26, 27 monies.
Can you speak to the issues in Montpelier? The flooding issues, and if any of these are going to address
Sure.
threats?
So as you may be aware, Wrightsville Dam is located just up the road here.
Yeah.
The core constructed flood control dam was built in the 1930s, was handed over to the state of Vermont for ownership and operation in perpetuity. It's one of the dams in our portfolio that we manage. During the July 23 floods, that flood pool that dam is designed to have a 50 vertical feet of flood storage, meaning the water level from today normal level to our on top of our flood pool is 50 feet, and we were basically at 49 feet in 2011. We were very near full, very near full. We were very fortunate that we didn't go much higher. If we had, we would have activated the auxiliary spillway, which would have resulted in, well, not a dam failure, resulted in more flow coming down from up to it, was already having flooding issues as it was. We have a study on here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 lines down, and Wrightsville Dam Operations Flexibility Study. This is a project we've been trying to get going with the Corps of Engineers. One of the things that 23 event really made clear was that that dam is designed as a self-functioning flow control dam. It has a spillway system and a tunnel that carries flow through the dam. And basically a fixed capacity. Once the inflows during a flood meet that fixed capacity, basically no more water goes downstream, and we store that remaining flood waters. And we have a 50-foot fan to do it. What we learned is that two things. One is that we have the opportunity to maybe use more channel capacity on the rising leg of a flood like that to move more water through without causing flooding issues and give us more storage capacity. And on the back end of the event, that system basically self-regulates. It's nothing we can do to move the water any faster. And that level stayed at an elevated level for over 20 days. So we've had another not even very big flood come days after the initial flood. We would have been in trouble. So if we had more operational flexibility, take advantage of downstream channel capacity, we could potentially move water sooner out of that reservoir. So we've been working with the Corps of Engineers through their assistance to the state's grant program. It's a 50% cost match program to study this issue and come up with alternatives to address that issue. Unfortunately, the project did not get into the program last year, and with some of the uncertainty at the federal level, it's not entirely clear if we're going to be able to get into it this year. But by by July of 2025, we should know for sure whether or not we're into that program. We have, as you can see, a little over $350,000 for our 50% cost share. If we are unable to get into that program this year, we're going to our plan is to hire a private consultant and go at it alone to try to at least unpack some of those issues and start to find some of that problem at some level. I'm pretty confident we can actually get fairly far with the funding that we have available in the event we do need to go the private consultant route, and hopefully start to come up with some answers and figure out next steps after that. So we're moving forward with that come July, kind of regardless of whether the federal funding thing works out or not. We're not going to wait any longer.
That is so good that you're not going to just wait for federal funding, because the area needs to be protected. And I know this is a little bit off, but are you identifying efficiencies or benefits to not having federal money? Because federal money usually comes with a lot of strings. So is there any side benefit? I mean, obviously we would prefer to get the money, but if we can't, there might be efficiencies and creativity that.
Yes, there can be. These dams were built by the Corps of Engineers. We maintain project buffer agreements on these flood control dams. So that kind of gives us the advantage to be able to get cost share agreements and assistance from them in the future. The core process is very rigid. It's a bit slow moving and very thorough, but it can be on the expensive side. Moving not through that process can give you some access to maybe some different alternatives and maybe a little more inventive way to approach some things. The one challenge we have here, however, though, is that we get to the study, we get to a point where we find viable potential alternatives. And then the real costs are going to be implementing them. These study costs are large dollar amounts, but the real large dollar amounts are going to be making physical changes. And if we choose at that point to, engage again with the Corps, which we probably would try to take advantage of some cost share, the challenge we always run into is the Corps accepting work that they didn't do themselves. And so that can be one potential risk of not going with the Corps. But I think this project is important enough, and we've sort of waited on the sidelines long enough for their assistance that we need to move forward, and that's our plan.
That's great. Anybody else have questions?
Well, I'm glad we have a plan. Nice. And contingency plan will be more importantly as well. It's I'm scared about the federal dollars, quite frankly. So goodbye you.
Yeah. So again, this plays out our plan to use up the remaining $23 and then the remaining dollars in 26 and 27. I just like to note that you see a lot of comprehensive assessment projects on here, 2 design projects. That means construction funding is going to be needed in future years. As those dollar amounts are going to be higher, so those can, hire contractors and physical changes to the dams that will be, costly. And so we're going to need continued support kind of through this whole process as we move dams comprehensive assessment, design, construction. And then that one goes to the bottom of the pile, and then the other ones move through. We're going to kind of constant stream to build to kind of keep moving through this inventory and making best efforts to get our dams that need to be. That was the main part of the presentation. I have a couple slides, a slide on Waterbury Dam if people are interested about that. I have a slide just on our staffing levels. I know there's been this interest about that since we've kind of gotten the support that we got last year. So I'm happy to move on or talk more about this. Or
Unless people. Okay, let's go. Thank you.
So the largest project that we have is associated with Waterbury Dam. That's also just sort of up the road here. This is a large project we're working with the Corps of Engineers New England Division for many years on. This project actually originally came to have its inception in the early 2000s. This is a flood control facility. This one actually has active flood control gates. You can see in the image here, we have 3 large steel gates. We operate those according to a reservoir regulation manual. And this facility this dam is not only very useful for flood control, but it's also it's become a very important recreation asset. And it also has hydropower. Green Mountain Power has a hydro plant downstream of this facility. In the 2000s, during normal gate testing, the floodgates actually got jammed, and that was due to concrete deterioration. Subsequent structural analysis of the gates that were done at that time determined that the gates were structurally deficient and only could be operated safely at 75% of their original design capacity. At that time, a reservoir restriction was put in place that we can only operate the gates under a certain regime and only store so much water up there, and we continue along on that today. The current estimate to do this project to basically restore full flood control functionality for this dam is in the $8 to $9 million range. And that's a combination of federal and state funds. Right now, the cost share is 7.1% state responsibility share. So as you can see, it's largely being federally funded, but at this point, we don't have all the money yet. Project includes the following elements. The 2 smaller floodgates you can see will be entirely replaced. The concrete piers adjacent to them will be completely torn down. New trunnions or hinges that those gates rotate on will be put in. That's really the largest problem we have with the gates. And then the larger gate which was installed not in the 1930s, but the 1950s will be rehabilitated. All of the concrete will be chipped back to solid concrete. There's a phenomenon going on in the concrete, this dam called alkali silica reaction, which is basically a reaction between the concrete and the aggregate made to mix the concrete. It makes it expand, and that's causing cracking and deterioration of the concrete. So to address that issue, and then all of the lifting equipment and the service bridge that you see will be removed and replaced with a new bridge. The bridge is the substandard. The bridge actually never achieved its original design strength, and it's had a lot of structural deficiencies. So we've actually had to temporarily shore that bridge with steel beams to be able to safely operate the gates. So that bridge will be replaced in its entirety, and the new lifting equipment will also be put in. And then downstream of the dam, we've identified some rock and erosion issues that could potentially impact the stability, and some form of a concrete splash pad will be installed downstream of the dam to hopefully address that issue. Other project elements in order to do this work, in order to provide similar levels of flood protection as we can with this dam spillway in operation, is to do a temporary drawdown. So this reservoir level will be drawn down during the work for 30 to 60 feet is the estimate. That'll be refined as we move a little bit more into the project. That'll have, unfortunately, some impacts to recreation and hydropower production, but again, as necessary during this 2-year construction window, which is planned to start in 2027. We have a major flood event. We need to be able to store water just like we can today. And the only way to do that is to buy additional storage by bringing the normal water level down. In preparation of this project, there's an image on the right here of a gentleman in the tunnel. We're assessing the tunnel and the penstocks downstream. Those will be the main ways we convey water through the site during that drawdown, during the construction. And we're working on a project right now to clean and assess those again. It's done on a 5-year cycle, and this equipment's all 80+ years old and likely need a ton of improvements. That's one of our more major undertaking projects that we have on a fairly major dam. This is for those not familiar, this dam is 187 feet tall, several thousand feet long. It's just a very large dam, their largest dam in the state.
It's a really cool site. I mean, it's just.
So
I mean, most of the dams are cool dams, but it's especially cool.
dams are normally the nicest place in town.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they think about this job.
That damn nice dam, I can tell.
Yeah.
Then the last slide I had was just to give an update on staffing levels. Again, we got a lot of support in adding 4 additional positions to our program. Historically, our program was so small, and we're kind of a little bit of everything since we've been staffing up. We've kind of built our program out around 3 service areas. One is project management, one is technical services, and one is regulatory work and emergency action planning work. And so this year we've managed to hire the technician under the regulatory group, started in 2024. We still have an engineer position open there. And then technical services group, we have an engineering position open there. And then the project management group, we managed to hire our program manager, Mike Amos, who just started in February as well. So we actually have resumes, and we have 6 or 7 viable resumes we're gonna interview, starting in the next few weeks for those engineer positions, and hopefully we'll have those. We'll have those filled. We've had a bit of a challenge finding candidates. But hopefully we're getting near the end of getting those filled, so that'll be exciting to let's realize their full potential.
Terrific.
So.
Thank you.
That's pretty much what I had.
Questions? And those dams aren't that far away, so we could go.
Cool.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's my keyboard doesn't work on my computer. So
I love how you brought the full size keyboard, the ancient mouse.
I'm having IT problems as well.
Okay.
You had asked about the loan fund for private.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yes, yes.
I just, with, through last session, general fund money, so put towards a new loan fund for privately owned dams.
Mhm.
So it breaks into the 2 categories of emergency work and non-emergency.
Do you want to come up and be over here?
We're still. You maybe want to chime in too, with that more details.
Okay, so the loan fund for private,
Correct.
okay,
So up until now, we have had a loan fund for this, strictly the unsafe dam revolving fund. But it was strictly limited to dams that gone through a process that determines that they're unsafe. And it's a pretty rigorous process, and it's been seldom ever used. So passed by this last legislative session through Act 121, we could focus part on dam safety issues and enacted this provision for essentially expanding the loan fund for non-emergency. And, at least this initial year, $3 million were appropriated for the fund. So we need to adopt rules, which we're working on currently, to fully utilize one of those loan funds.
okay, so when is it gonna be ready for people to?
It's the required date is July 27. We're hoping to do it. We're working on a rule package for our technical standards that we're hoping to get out in July 26. We're hoping to actually roll the, our hope is to roll the revolving loan fund roll into the same package. So that when technical standards hit, the loan fund hits at the same time, so that with dam owners being asked to do more, there's not a lot of funding, but there's at least a big funding option.
So it's 2 more years before people can.
26.
Oh, I thought you said 27.
Oh, the date in 121 is 27. We're trying to accelerate.
Oh, I'm sorry, trying to accelerate. I'm sorry. I
Trying to-
understand that.
Trying to accelerate / match it up with our other
Oh, good.
rulemaking. We have one rulemaking a little behind, one rulemaking we're gonna have ahead, but we're trying to get them both in 26 so that when the statutory, again, when the dam safety requirements hit, there is some form of funding option. It's not gonna be enough to cover everything, not close, but at least there'll be something.
Perfect. That's great.
The only recent use of the unsafe dam revolving fund was for the Rulo Dam in Williamstown, which is a partial breach. And this follows the storm in 2022.
Williamstown, not Williamsville.
Dam
Oops.
at risk of causing severe damage.
Okay.
So predominantly, we've managed funds for agency-owned dams, and with the infusion of large capital in the fund and expanded use, the program will start to manage a bigger portfolio that will include non-state.
Okay, the funding is still at the same level though, right?
Well,
Is this a different?
It's entirely different.
I'm sorry, okay.
So the state-owned dams, predominantly, capital funds.
Okay.
This is general fund money. For the unsafe dam.
Oh, okay.
Fund.
Great.
So totally different source.
Sure.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Were you going to talk to us about line 72 in our sheet? Or if you weren't,
which appropriate?
Can you? It's, in water.
Oh, so we were gonna come in, next week, next Thursday, to talk about clean water.
Well, just.
It's just because it's part of section 9.
Yeah.
Right, because there are different people involved in managing these funds. But today, we would just focus on the dam safety portion of
Okay.
section 9. And then because section 10 deals with clean water and and drinking water, and drinking water is in section 9, we thought we would combine that portion of section 9 with 10. Come back.
How about that's fine, just explain why some is in 9 and some is in.
Section 9 includes the state match for the drinking water SRF.
Okay,
Some years ago, the decision was made to split out any monies that are being used for clean water projects. So the clean water initiatives are all in section 10. The drinking water SRF state revolving fund program is a companion sort of fund to the clean water state revolving fund. And so the match money for the clean water state revolving fund comes out of section 10. And that's why it's just convenient to kind of talk about those two programs together.
okay,
Even though they're split up in different sections of the capital.
okay, I can see that.
And in fact, the match to the IIJA money, it was combined for both drinking water and clean water, so that in your spreadsheet, you will probably see 14.5 million from the cash fund that's being used for the match to the IIJA money. So that 14.5 million is matched to both clean water and drinking water IIJA stabilization grants.
Okay, so let's talk about that when you come back. And if you don't mind talking about last year's and this year's, just how we're doing on last
Sure.
year's. All right, perfect. And it's Friday, so we're not gonna complain if you leave now or leave soon. Thank you very much. And so I think we do have a date for you.
Yeah.
Next week. Okay, perfect.
And the other witness will be Patrick Monk.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
All right. Do y'all have anything you want to talk about before we adjourn? I think we've got a lot of good information.
Yeah.
We're on our way. We just actually officially got the bill yesterday, I believe.